All right. What's going on, everybody? It's your man, Tech King Mike. So, welcome to the first ever podcast via Tech King Mike. Now, for those of you that know about me, I have a YouTube channel. You can catch me on YouTube at tech_king_Mike. For those of you guys that don't know about me, welcome. I hope you guys enjoy what you're hearing today, and hope you'll stay tuned for more. We'll try to release these on a regular basis. We're kind of working out the schedule. This is a first copy, so thank you for stopping by and thank you for listening to me. And like I said, don't forget to check me out on YouTube. So today, I want to talk about a little bit of a Twitter battle that I saw this morning that I was kind of involved in. And I think it's a little interesting that we live in a day and age now where, about 10 years ago, we had phones that were coming out. We had Windows smartphones, Windows Mobile. We had Palm, BlackBerry, and other devices that were out. And we were at a point where these were the top of the line smartphones. And then we had the iPhone that came out, and that just revolutionized the game. Samsung started releasing the Galaxy line, and then we had the Note line came out several years later. But as we get close to 2020, we've only got 6 months left in this year. And as we get close to 2020, I think we're getting to the point now where we have to start kind of asking ourselves, what are we looking for in a phone now? What are we looking for as far as innovation goes? I bring this up because, like I said, there was a battle this morning on Twitter, and one of the things that was talked about was innovation, innovative. What is innovation anymore? Huawei is a Chinese manufacturer, Chinese smartphone manufacturer. They also produce 5G equipment, cell phone towers. They're far beyond just the regular run-of-the-mill smartphone. But Huawei is a company that, in their devices last year, we'll say specifically, we'll narrow it down specifically, in their Mate 20 Pro. It's a device that released in 2018. I believe it released in October, November of last year. And this device included what was known as a Gimmick at the time, but it was a reverse wireless charging. Now, what this enabled you to do was you could take a phone and turn it on its backside, enable this feature, and charge another wirelessly chargeable device on the back of your Mate 20 Pro. Now, it granted was a slow charge. There was nothing fast about it, but a lot of people thought that this was, for whatever reason, they thought it was a gimmick. Nobody really used it. At least, it wasn't widely received as something that was used, but people, nonetheless, it was available on the phone. It was a feature. Now, the thing about it that I think people need to remember and they need to keep in mind when it comes to these different innovations and different gimmicks, that's pretty much where we're at today. We're trying to figure out what is the difference between innovation and a gimmick. Okay, so you want to ask yourself, what do you define as an innovation? What do you define as a gimmick? Me personally, I think innovation is something new. When a phone comes out with something that no other device on the market has, that is innovation to me. That is what I look at, and I think to myself, that is innovative. Now, regardless of how good it works, regardless of its ability to stand out on the market, it's whatever you want to consider. To me, if I pick up three phones, we'll say I pick up a Huawei, a Samsung, an Apple, or an LG, a Motorola, and a ZTE. We'll throw other brands out there as well. We'll even say a Pixel phone, a Pixel, an Asus, or a Xiaomi phone. I gave you 9 brands just now. If I pick up all 9 of those phones and one of them has something that none of the other ones have, that is innovation to me. To me, that's innovation. Now, is it the best innovation? That's a whole nother argument for a whole nother day. Now we're starting to get into, do you like Red Delicious or do you like golden yellow apples? At the end of the day, it's still an apple, right? Still an apple. So my thing is, I think that's something that people need to kind of think about. Now, if we're gonna be honest about this, the average consumer doesn't really care. Okay, you may not consider yourself the average consumer. You may think an average consumer, whatever your situation may be. But let's just keep it real for a second. The average consumer does not really care about these types of things. Samsung makes a big push during the NBA Finals. If you watched, it was almost like every commercial break there was the commercial of someone holding their S10 Plus and the battery was dying, and the person next to him just happened to have another S10 Plus and offered a charge. But let's keep it honest. In a real life situation, that person next to them is probably going to have an S8. Right? Or an S9. They're not going to have an S10 Plus. You're not going to walk around somewhere and see two people holding the S10 Plus together, or unless they're on a buy one, get one, or they're a family of people who upgraded at the same time. Furthermore, the only time that you really see that is when it comes to Apple. Now, if Apple was to release this, let's be honest, people. If Apple released wireless or reverse wireless charging on the back of their phones, if Apple came out this year with the iPhone 11 and the iPhone 11R and said, hey, you can flip this phone over and charge your AirPods or charge your Apple Watch or something like that, it would be received as the best thing since sliced bread. It's a fact that nobody wants to admit, but I'll be willing to say it myself. It is what it is. And it's nothing against Apple. It's nothing against any other company, but Apple has this trend of they wait. They sit back and they watch other people do stuff. They sit back and they think about how they can take something that has happened and how they can, reflect it and make it their own. So that's what makes Apple different, in my opinion. And I think that is something that we have to take into consideration as well when it comes to innovation versus game changing. Because let's just say Huawei released this a year ago, right? Mate 20 Pro reverse wireless charging. Well, let's say a year from then, as in this coming fall, Apple decides to say, well, you know what? We're going to go ahead and release reverse wireless charging on our phone. But here's the catch. Here's where it becomes an innovation over a gimmick. Our device can charge at 10 watts. Okay? Think about that for a second. Now, you take a Mate 20 Pro or an S10 Plus that can reverse wireless charge a device, but it's slow. Slow. One more time for emphasis. Slow. But Apple comes with it and says, well, hey, ours can charge 50% of your phone in an hour on the back of our phone. Now, of course, nobody's really going to do that. Nobody's really going to actually find themselves lending their phone for a charge like that. But I think that is one of the things we have to think about. Is it an innovation when it releases, or is it an innovation when it's perfected? And it doesn't matter who does it, because at the end of the day, you get more bang for the buck with Android than you do with Apple. I'm sorry to say, but it's true. You get much more bang for the buck with Android than you do with Apple. A lot of people will not admit that. I will admit it because as a loyal Apple fan for several years and as a bilingual user of iOS and Android, I will say that there are timeless amounts of, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna say timeless, I'll say countless. There are countless amounts of features, countless amounts of hardware improvements and things that come along on an Android device that you don't get on an Apple device. And if we're just gonna be honest, we'll just go so far as to say the Fold. The Fold is a whole another story that I'm not even going to touch on this particular day, but we'll just say that the Fold is innovation. The price, though, that's a whole other subject for another day. I know some of you guys out there are going to say, but it's you have to think about the production and things like that. Listen. You can think about that if you want to, but for me personally, I'm straight. The only thing I'm gonna be worried about folding is I'm gonna be worried about folding what's in my pocket, and that's AKA the bills that I put in my pocket, my dollar bills. You feel me? That's what I'm gonna be thinking about. I'm not worried about a folding phone that is gonna really, I think, needs to be perfected a little bit more. But moving past that, we'll get back to innovation. Now, cars. Let's look at smartphones the same way they would look at cars. If a car comes out, when Tesla came out with their electric cars, okay, that was innovation. A car comes out and you can switch from running on a fossil fuel engine to running on a battery if necessary. That is innovation. To me, that is not a gimmick. That is an innovation. That is innovative. That is something that the world needs because, we'll just keep it real. It is what it is. We're on the clock, people. Not gonna get too deep, but we're on the clock. So you can leave that where it is. But we'll also say this: when it comes to smartphones, we also have to think about where Android is in regards to innovation and features that are being taken away. Now, for that, I'll say this: we have an LG G8 that came out this year, Snapdragon 855, 6 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage, Hand ID. Could read the capillaries and the veins in your hand for an unlock of the device. We have True Face ID with a time of flight sensor on the front of the camera. We have a completely flush background or a completely flush camera module on the phone. And yet, for whatever reason, it was not received as innovation. But let's speak on the headphone jack that has a quad DAC inside of it. While other manufacturers, other OEMs, Huawei, Samsung, Motorola, while other brands and OEMs are taking away the headphone jack, LG is staying true to theirs. Do we consider that innovation? Or is that another gimmick now? When they stand alone amongst the crowd of, phones that are starting to look more and more similar as we continue, do you consider them a gimmick now, or do you consider that an innovation? In my mind, I'm going to say that I think that's innovative. That's just me personally, but I think that's innovative. So, but again, it's all relative to what you think, and I don't know. We live in crazy times right now where we have to talk about innovation, and we have to talk about what is innovative and what is a gimmick. It's crazy that smartphones have advanced so fast in the last 10 years that we're having conversations about whether being able to charge another device on the back of your current device is a gimmick or innovative. Let that sink in for a second. To me, 10 years ago, somebody said that, I would have lost my mind. I know quite a few techies and quite a few people who would have lost their minds. But now here we are in today's age. Have we become so numb to technology that that's not innovative anymore? Have we become so just, I don't know. It's hard to think about, and it's hard to imagine that this is where we are. So I'm really curious to see what the rest of this year is going to bring smartphone wise, and I'm really curious to see where we're going to go into with a new decade. But for now, we'll just have to stay tuned to see what happens. So anyway, I want to invite you all to check out, like I said, I want to earlier in the stream, I want to invite everyone to check out my YouTube channel. It is Tech King Mike, Tech_King_Mike. It may change to just Tech King Mike, so the underscores can kind of be removed and make things a little bit easier for people to find it. But for now, I want to invite you all to go check out the YouTube channel, check out the different videos I have posted over there, and we'll get to a point where we'll have recordings of these on the channel, so you guys can actually watch it if you're not able to listen to it. And I encourage you to engage with me on Twitter at Tech King Mike as well. And don't be shy. Send me a message and talk to me. Let me know what you guys think as far as is innovation a gimmick or is a gimmick innovation? But think about that. So I will catch you guys in the next one. I appreciate you for listening. Have a blessed day. And remember, you woke up today. It's a chance to be great.